Hi everyone, it's Anthony Lexa here. I did a Q&A yesterday on Instagram where I was like, get to know me, and I got so many amazing questions. I was like, I'd love to do this in a video, and I wanted to combine that by doing a little festive wreath makeup look. So I'm just gonna do like a little chatty Q&A video whilst talking a little bit about makeup and my favorite makeup brands, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching in advance. Please stay, I need friends. Hi! My boyfriend got me these earmuffs and I cannot take them off. I'm just obsessed with them. I probably should do other videos that aren't makeup, but I don't know how. Can you like leave opinions in the comments below of what videos I should do if not makeup? I always think the key to any good look starts with the brows, especially gender euphoria wise. I always feel most affirmed when my brows are like snatched and neat and sorted out. The key for me is having it be a complete straight line. Ariana Grande said that once and I was like, Ariana Grande looks very feminine, let me try it. And it works. Like it just completely opens your eye space if like your eyebrows go completely straight up instead of going and down, because it's these trail bits that go down that quite often masculinize your eye a little bit, in my opinion. Not that there is really such thing as masculine and feminine, but for me that makes me feel affirmed, so I like doing that. I'm using the Jecca Black brow gel, by the way, because it's amazing. Then I'm just going to carve out my brows with some eyeshadow primer stroke concealer. I normally get one of those ones that's like a little bit of a blend, so it's like very tacky, so the eyeshadow sits nicely on it, but it is also concealer, because then I'm able to just like carve out the brows and block out any pinkness that's on my eye within one step. I literally used to be such a like multiple step makeup queen, and I've like halved my makeup time. I can do like my whole face in like half an hour and it looks fine. I used to spend like 2 hours sat on a chair like redoing my powder using 2 different powders, one for the center of my face and one for the outside of my face. Like, get a grip, girl. It's not making that much difference. Now I've prepped the lid space and carved out the brows. I'm just gonna go in with the Nubian palette. Oh my god, it looks so dirty. Ignore that. I use it a lot. The Nubian palette by Juvia's Place, one of my favorite brands of all time. So I'm just gonna sort of lightly print on the outer corner shape using like a deep sort of red toned brown. Like literally that's enough just to sort of like make the imprint of the external corner, and then we're gonna wing it out using a different color. Then I'll get an even bigger fluffy brush and I'll just wing that out with like a lighter brown shade. Slight wing shape, just because I think that sort of feminizes the face and gives us a direction to point a festive liner in, but I really want to keep the focus on the liner. So I just like keeping it a very gentle shape, neutral colors. I remember Nikki's tutorials always saying that the nose contour always looks best when it's blended like from the inner bit of your eyebrow. I don't know what you call that. Then I'll just grab a really thin brush and drag that dark eyeshadow around the outer corner of the lower lash line, and then just blend that up into the top. Now I've just got like an old Revolution palette, and the final step I'll do is I'll pop some shimmer on the inner portion of our lid. Literally just like a really neutral kind of shimmer, like I'm using like this color, and then I'll pop that gold like on the inner corner. And I'll also pop that just lightly on the brow bone underneath the brow, as it gives it like a really nice shape to the eye. Finally, carve it out with some concealer. Now, as I go ahead and do that on the other eye, I'm going to start answering some Q&A questions. So I've got the first one from Sophie L, who just said, what are your festive plans? And I just wanted to talk a little bit about Christmas as a trans person. So I'm very, very lucky in that I am accepted by my family and my identity is pretty much validated by them. Like, you know, I can tell that they're trying their best. Sometimes when it's all the family gathered at Christmas, I do find it a little bit tricky because pronouns seem to go out the window sometimes, but I can deal with it. And you know, I'm lucky enough that I'm in a situation where I'm able to correct them and be like, yo, enough of that, my darling. But I grew up in Devon and I'm gonna go back to Devon for the Christmas season. And it is so weird as a queer person, even now when I go back to Devon, I just feel so isolated. Like I feel like I'm the only trans person in the world. And this year I got to be part of the Trans Santa initiative with Think to Speak. And I think that's why it felt so important to me, because I know how it feels to feel isolated as a trans person, even with like a trans person who is so aware of her own privilege and has like a family that, you know, do accept her and she loves dearly. If I felt so isolated and alienated and scared by my own identity, like I can't imagine how other people feel in other situations, you know? So I'm really happy that I could be part of that initiative with Think to Speak. Now, similarly, I got a question from Marco, someone called Marco, that says, what is your favourite festive memory? And I kind of love this question because I think there's always a specific tradition that someone has like a memory of that makes us feel festive. And I think mine was the fact that my uncle, when I grew up, worked in a Christmas tree field. And I think my favourite Christmas memory ever was one year I was picking it with my sister and we ended up like getting lost like halfway down the Christmas tree field because it had like grown and they'd opened another field, and we just got completely separated from our family and we were like, what is going on? And I feel like for like a good 10 minutes we were just lost in this like festive wonderland, and we felt like we were like in Narnia or something. I just don't think I'll ever be able to recreate that feeling of like childhood joy and festivities and that excitement of like picking a tree and thinking about whether it's going to fit in the little tiny living room or whether it's going to be able to hold up our baubles and like whether it's going to shed its needles. Like there's just something so joyful about that, and like I really did switch off from the world, and I was such an anxious kid that was a rare feeling for me. So that was probably my favourite Christmas memory. Okay, the liner I'm doing is loosely inspired by the makeup artist Olivia__makeup on Instagram. They work with Glisten Cosmetics a lot, like I do, and they do the most amazing eyeliner looks, and they're a lot more talented at makeup than I am, but I'm doing my own little version of like a little festive garland crease moment. Now I'm first just going to go in with the Glisten Cosmetics wet liner in the colour Loch Ness, which is like a dark foresty green kind of colour. And I'm just going to do like a basic crease shape. I'm just going to start here, making sure it's straight. And then I'm going to like kind of try and work with it while it's wet and go underneath with like a light green colour. Lime green shade here in this palette next to the purple. Kind of like so. Now I've just blended the black colour with that dark green on the outside of my hand. What the hell, the outside of my hand? On my hand. And just to make like a darker green. And I'm going to do tiny little like strokes to make it look like a bit of a fir tree, like a holly wreath. And I'm just going to do that all the way along, facing out this way. I'm going to do it one direction halfway, and then the other half I'm going to do it in the other direction. So it looks a bit messy, but like it looks kind of cool. And I'm going to go back in with that light green. And I'm going to start doing like smaller strokes with the green beneath that, with the lighter green. Kind of like so. I think that looks quite cool. Now I'm just going to let this dry now, and while I do that, I'm going to do the other eye and answer another question. Now I've got asked what my favourite book is. I'm obsessed at the moment with The Girl with the Louding Voice. I like that it's written in like her colloquial dialect, and like you can really hear her voice through the narration. Like I think that's so important when you read a book, that you connect with the narrator. It's like you're so rooting for her and you can really like hear her voice and get a sense of who she is as a person, that it just like makes it so hard to put down. And it's a beautiful story, and I think it's a really impactful book. I also love the book Piranesi by Suzanne Clarke. It's like, you think it's mystical and you think it's about one thing, and then it's not, and it's so readable. Like it's one of those ones that I just like, I was trying to read at work, like in my like break times, and then I would just be like on shift, like I should probably go back to work, but I can't put it down. So Piranesi by Suzanne Clarke is a yes from me. And Jan Marlane asked that question. Thank you, Jan. The next question comes from EJ Scandon, and it says, what is your favourite album of all time and why? I'm gonna like give different categories. I'm gonna give like favourite album of the year, favourite like childhood album, and the most impactful album of my life, because music is a lot and I can't categorise it that easily. I think one of my all-time favourite albums, which was like my childhood album that my mum would put on like every time we were in the car and stuff, was the Sister Sisters Tada album. Like, mum, no wonder I'm gay as hell. But I just loved hearing like such like hyper pop music be celebrated, and like it just being about fun and positivity. Like I just love that music for the Sister Sisters, but also like with like these like weirdly dark undertones. I just think it's such a good album, and I still go back and listen to it today, and it was like what I used to listen to when I was like 7 years old every day. Now, my favourite album of the year, I think I'm going to have to say Messy by Olivia Dean. It just had me in an absolute chokehold this year. Because not only her voice that just sounds so authentic, her tone just seems to come from emotion, and like that's actually how she sings, and like it feels natural to her, you know? And Messy is just so beautifully written and relatable and sad but happy and catchy that like it was just, I would go onto my Spotify home screen to like listen to like a playlist I'd spent ages creating, but I'd see like the icon of that album in the corner and I just could not click. Like as soon as I'd seen it, like I couldn't click on anything else. No wonder it was Mercury Prize nominated. And now speaking of Mercury Prize nominated, my all-time favourite artist is actually Loyal Kana. I was like a little bit late to the Loyal Kana game because I'm not normally like a huge digester of rap, especially UK rap at the time. Like I used to be obsessed with Anderson .Paak and Chance the Rapper and people like that. But I remember I found the song Ottolenghi and I met Ottolenghi because I used to work in like this farm in Devon, which was like a food events place, and Ottolenghi came there and I met Ottolenghi, the chef. And I remember I saw this song Ottolenghi and I was like, I've met him, what's this about? And I started listening to Loyal Kana because of that song, and it changed the way I thought of rap. And like the standards that I used to have for rap went up by like 10 because I was like, wow, this is what it should be about. It should be about emotion and depth and rawness, and also be that catchy and have that amazing tone and just be that beautiful like jazz inspired music. Like, oh my god. And Not Waving But Drowning is probably my all-time favourite album. I love the narrative of it. You feel like it's about then healing, and you like really feel like a sense of like him as a child and what he used to think, and then like about him falling in love, his familial relationships. I will never ever get bored of any songs on that album, and I listen to it just on shuffle like constantly all the time. So that's probably my all-time favourite album, EJ Scanlon. So now it's dried, I just went over and popped some like little red dots within that garland to like look like little red fairy lights. Do you see that? I'm next gonna go in with the yellow to start doing some more fairy lights. And I'm gonna answer the next question, which is what is my star chart? Funnily enough, for a queer person, I hardly knew anything about star charts or star signs, right? But on Sex Education, Amy and Ncuti Gatwa really made me like obsessed. Like I remember the first time they asked me, like I didn't even really necessarily remember what my like Mars was or anything. But it turns out I have 7 Cancer placements in my chart. I'm a Cancer Sun, Moon, and I'm a Capricorn rising. And I have the same Sun and rising as Ariana Grande, and actually a really similar chart to her, so it's all making sense why I'm so obsessed with love. And speaking of Sex Education, someone said, who was your fave Sex Education character before joining the cast? Eric Effion, one of my favourite people and accounts on the internet. Such a sweetheart. I think that's such a good question because I was such a huge Sex Education fan before joining the cast. I think I really wanted to be Amy, especially played by the amazing Amy Lou Wood. She would just make me scream of laughter like every time she was on screen. It was just like a feeling that I have only ever dreamed of being able to create, that sense of like ease on camera and like just being like so naturally funny and gifted at comedy like Amy Lou Wood is. And I think that just makes Amy such a like well-rounded amazing character, as well as obviously like it being like a really well-written character on such a good show. However, also I love Ruby. Like I just think that she has such like power as a character, and Mimi plays her so well. In person, witnessing Mimi playing Ruby, it's like even more, like it made me love Ruby even more. Okay, it's starting to look a little bit like Festive lights. I think I need blue because the yellow looks a tad green. Then the colour 12 asked, what's your dream role? Now, my ultimate dream is to be in a murder mystery. However, my dream characters to play, I would say, would be to play Coraline, like a live action remake of Coraline or The Corpse Bride, both of which I would love to do with Felix, who played my boyfriend on Sex Education, Roman, because I think Felix as YB and me as Coraline reads so well. Okay, I think this looks really fun. It kind of looks like bushy eyebrows, like bushy, like Grinch eyebrows. If I didn't have my brows on right now, it would be very interesting. I'm gonna do a little bit more serious questions now, and I'm gonna pop some black eyeliner in my waterline while I do that. Actually, this is the worst time and view to be doing something serious while I look like this. Bear with me, let me come back. And my favourite mascara ever is the Better Than Sex mascara. Like, I just can't find anything that makes my lashes look like that, so that's what I'm going to be using. I won't read out who asked the next question just in case they don't want to come out, because the question is the best way to cope before you come out fully. I think that's a really important question to ask, and people often talk about trans people's journeys as sort of being their journey after coming out, whereas for me, I think your journey is just your whole life, and you're always discovering things about yourself, even outside of your gender identity, your whole entire life. Doesn't start or end when you come out, you know? I think the most important thing you have to remember if you're not out yet is that people will believe you and see you for who you are and who you want to be seen as, no matter when you come out. There is always going to be loads of people who believe you, see you, and validate you. So you don't have to come out just to prove who you are. Like, you can feel that way so strongly and it still not be the right time, and you're still not ready, and you're still not yet at the place where you're either physically, financially, or emotionally able to have that journey, and that's okay. It doesn't make you any less of a woman, man, non-binary person when you come out eventually, and people will still believe you just as they would if you came out when you were 12. And I think it's really important not to see coming out as like gaining validation of who you are, because for me, when I came out, I suddenly was like out to prove to myself that everyone could see me and everyone saw me as a woman. It took a long time for me to realize, like, oh, it's not actually my job to prove to people who I am. It's my job to live authentically as me. And you don't have to be out, and you can still be living authentically if you're honest with yourself and you know what you're doing is just about safety or about where you are emotionally. That's fine. That doesn't invalidate who you are in any way, okay? And then on a similar note, someone else asked, how did you come out to your parents? And I think everyone comes out at their own pace, at a different time, in their own way. So I'm only going to give my story as like a fun little anecdote. I'm very lucky that I could sort of experiment with how I presented before having to like explain myself to my parents or like actually come out, which I'm like so incredibly grateful for, and I have amazing parents and that's how it should be. I just hadn't had the sort of courage or bravery to have the pronoun chat with my parents, with my family, because I thought, I know who I am. Like, it doesn't really matter what they call me. Like, that doesn't change how I present or who I am or what I'm seen as in my world and with my chosen family and within my friendship groups, you know? And I just remember I met my ex and I could feel that it was like different. Well, I mean, I'd never dated anyone before. And like, the fact that he was kind of open to dating me, even knowing I was trans, was like crazy to me. So of course it felt different. I remember she had obviously clocked that I was seeing this guy a lot more than I was seeing other people. And he was obviously like a new friend. So she just said like, is the boy gay? And I was like, right, this is my chance. And I was like, no, he's not, but we are seeing each other because he sees me as a girl and I want to be seen as a girl. And outside of this house, I do identify as a girl. And my mum was like, oh, okay. And I'd never really spoken to my mum about anything. Like, I'd never spoken to her about my dating life or who I was, how I felt, anything really, because I just felt like it was very much my journey to have personally. And then when I was ready, I was going to come to her, and that's okay. But yeah, that's how I came out to my parents. And if you want advice, I would just say, if you're really worried about how they're going to react, do it in a public place. And you also have to expect that it's going to take time, and your relationship isn't broken, even if it feels tricky and sticky at the beginning. If it's a relationship that's important enough to you, just let it take time and know that it's not your job to prove who you are to your parents. It's their job to catch up and believe you. So if it's taking too much energy of yours trying to prove who you are or make your parents see that you're valid and your existence is real, just take a step back for a bit and let them catch up and let them come back to you. As hard and as tricky and as disgusting as that is, I think that's the only thing you can do if it's coming from a place of love for yourself. Because if they're good parents, then they'll just care about you. But fear of judgment is like super valid, and people spend their whole lives dictating how they live based on what other people think of them. So to think that trans people just step out into authenticity and kind of say F you to what people think of them, people can be jealous of that because they live their whole lives dictated by what others think. So it can cause a lot of people to feel jealous because they hate themselves, or they're not in love with their own self, and they don't feel authentic in their own bodies. And that's not your responsibility, and that's not your fault. Your only responsibility is to yourself, to your own happiness and your own authenticity. On a lighter note, someone else asked if I believe in ghosts. I feel like I do believe in ghosts, right? But I don't believe in them in the form of like how they're portrayed in fiction. Being human is like such a strong energy, and you just have so much power and thoughts and depth within this planet. Like, surely it doesn't make sense to me that you could just disappear. And I felt when I've lost people that I love who have passed away, I don't really feel them completely leave. Like, I just don't. So I don't know if that means that they survive in some other way, but I do believe there are still souls and spirits on this planet. Maybe there's like an extra field, maybe there's a link between. I love talking about this stuff. Like, I don't think there's a wrong or right answer, because like death is probably so beyond human understanding for our own survival. Like, it's really hard for us to kind of understand or think about, that I think we never really will understand it. I don't know, it's just the possibilities are endless, my darling. Oh my darling. Okay, she's lost it. I also was gonna do skin makeup and foundation and stuff, but I actually just think it looks really cute sometimes when you just do like a cute little bronzed cheek in the winter and you leave your little spots to be free and to breathe. I think it looks cute. I normally like use like an angled brush to pop it like right under the cheekbone, and then I use like a big fluffy brush to like buff it out so you don't look like you have a strange orange line on your cheek. Not coming for Trixie Mattel, I swear to God. If you bring it up towards the crown of your head and then just like brush it over your forehead, I think it makes you look so snatched and like really brings attention to your eyes, personally. And I always just dab a little bit on my nose with like the big fluffy brush. So it gives that sort of like happy little like cold, you know, when you have a cold and you get like a little blush like tip of your nose. I kind of like how that looks, so I always like give me a little bit in bronzer, and then I'll do it with blush as well. But before we go into blush, I go in with that same bronzer. I get an eyeshadow brush and I blend that bronzer colour into my eyeshadow in the corner, and then sort of just bring that down the edge of my nose, and it sort of creates like a slightly natural nose contour. I've been doing something weird for blush recently. I've been using the colour Zoma in the Nikki Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette for blush, because I cannot find a colour like that beautiful peach that's the same as this eyeshadow. Like, I've been looking for a blush for ages that's this sort of like natural like peach glow, but it just looks so wintry to me. Like, it really gives me like glow under the skin, wintry makeup vibes. Final step to tie it in, I'll get the same shimmer I used for my eye, just dab it on like a little Juvia's Place highlighter brush, and just sort of like glisten the top of the cheekbones and the center of the nose. Like, I'm literally barely touching my face because like I don't think you have to. Like, it's still pretty like extreme. And then I'll just give it a little spray with some finishing setting spray, darling. I'm a makeup artist. Some all-nighter because I'm a basics gal. And then I'm gonna chuck on some Gliss Gloss. And I think after that, my darlings, we're done. I kind of like wearing dramatic lipstick in the winter more than I do in the summer, but I think when you wear not a lot of skin makeup and like just a little bit of bronze, it looks slightly strange having like a heavy lip. I can never pull it off, especially a red lip. I can never pull it off unless I'm wearing like heavy skin makeup. But I think, my darlings, I think we're done. I love this little like festive wreath and fairy lights eyeliner. My boyfriend got me these really adorable wreath earrings. I think they're so much fun, and they go with my little look. Eee, my brows look nice thanks to Jack of Black. So I'm happy, and I hope you got to know me slightly better with these like few Q&A questions. I got like loads on my Instagram yesterday, and I still have more if you want me to do like another video and do like a Q&A within that. Like, I really want to start doing cooking videos. I just don't know how to make them look good. Okay guys, opinions. If you do happen to watch this and you want to leave a comment below. I cannot take food photography to save my life. I can make food that tastes really good and looks kind of good in person, right? And like, people always come to me and they're like, Aunt, you're a really good cook, and they love my cooking and they always ask to come around for dinner. I know this for a fact, but I cannot for the life of me make it look good on camera. So should I do cooking videos even if I can't make it look good on camera? If you know it's gonna taste good, would you still be interested in that? Because I can do that, and I'll just explain how to do it, and then someone else can make it look good and then post me that picture and I'll use that instead. Because I really want to do like cooking videos and stuff, because like cooking is such a big part of my life. Like I love cooking. I cook for myself like every day. I never get takeaways or like ready meals or anything. I would love if anyone would be interested in that. And for now, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas.